Hi, this is Mike from Challenge Island, Oakland County East, back with our Steamtastic Friday. We're in the middle of our car series this week at Challenge Island. So last week we talked a little bit about the science of cars. So if you missed that one, be sure to check that out. Today we'll do a really quick tour through the technology of cars. So there is a lot of technology that goes into cars because they do a lot of different things. They're fun to ride in, they go fast, they can see what's going on around them. So lots of great technology and more technology coming. So there's kind of three major categories or types of technology that are out there. So we'll do a real quick summary of each of those in today's lesson. So the three I'd like to talk about are energy, autonomy, and interactivity. And we'll explain what each of those are in just a second here. So first, when it comes to the energy that powers cars, a lot of new things going on. So back in the olden days, that there were actually some electric cars a long time ago, but the batteries were kind of expensive. It was pretty complicated, so they didn't really catch on. They're starting to catch on these days. So if you look out there, you'll see a lot of different kinds of electric vehicles. Also, if you ever hear of a hybrid car, that has a battery in it, or if you hear about a plug-in hybrid car, that's a car that has a regular engine and it can run on electricity, and you can even plug it in your garage to get some electricity into your car. So lots of different types of electricity are coming in. Just one other kind that they're experimenting with also is fuel cells. So fuel cells make electricity also to run cars, but all they use is, instead of electricity like from a charger, they'll actually use hydrogen. So they'll put hydrogen gas in the car, it mixes with oxygen and makes energy. So that one's still got a ways to go, but lots of electric cars are on the way. So that's a lot of fun stuff going on when it comes to energy. The next category is autonomy. So autonomy is a fancy word that means you can do something all by yourself. So for example, if you know how to find your way to school, you could do that autonomously. So when it comes to a car, when we talk about cars being autonomous, that means that they can drive themselves and go wherever you want them to go. So there's a lot of technology and computers that have to go into a car to make that happen. So for example, here's some of the things that you have to have in your car to make that work. So for example, we need it to be able to see GPS. So the car will talk to the satellites up in the sky to know exactly where it's at. They'll use LiDAR. That's a special kind of sensor that sends special light beams out to everything around the car to check and see what's around it. And then those light beams bounce back and the car senses those and figures out what's going on. Of course, there's cameras. There's also radar. So for example, radar might come out of the front bumper of the car and then look to see if there's cars out in front of it. So it can make sure it's not going to bump into those. Other computers are on. And then also here's something else, a wheel encoder. So what this does is this senses exactly how fast the wheels are turning so that the car can figure out exactly where it is, because it can count how many times the wheel turns. It knows how big the wheel is, and that just gives an additional hint to help it figure out exactly where it's at so it can stay totally safe and move around safely. So autonomy is a really big area also. And the third area is interactivity. So interactivity means that you interact. So you get to do things along with your car. So you might listen to something on the radio, you might watch a show if you're in the back seat, or so any chance you have to do things with your car, a lot of that's considered interactivity. So just for example here, if you look in the front of a lot of cars these days, they'll have a screen in them. So that's like a little computer on its own. So you can make your phone apps from your phone show up on there so that you can get directions to go places. You can play songs out of a library you might have on your phone, things like that. And then also in the back seat too, if you have a cool back seat, you might have cameras or you might have TV screens in the back so you can watch movies or play video games and things like that in the back seat. So lots of fun things coming for interactivity also. So what those things have in common from a technology standpoint, this is a pretty general model for how a lot of technology works, and this definitely applies to cars. So when you're looking at new technology and trying to think, what do I need to make that work? Here's some things to think about. So first you need an input, so you need to get some information from somewhere. So for example, for a car, that might be different sensors or cameras or the LiDAR or the radar. All those things sense what's going on around the car so that it can figure out what to do with it. So it brings in information, And then we do some computing. So there might be a computer or a computer chip in the car that takes all that information and then learns from it and figures out what to do with it. So those would be like the microprocessors or the computer chips in your car. In fact, most cars already today have between 25 and 50 different computer chips in there. So a lot of computing work goes on inside a vehicle. And then finally, there's some kind of output. So after the computer thinks about it, you want to do something with that information. So for example, in the case of an autonomous car, all that information helps the car to know where to move so it can do that safely. Or in the case of interactivity, it might be a video that you can see from the back seat or some audio, some music you can listen to. So next time you're thinking about technology, whether it's a car or any place else, think about it in terms of these three things: inputs, computing, and outputs. And that might help you figure out what all's going on there, or what you might be able to invent someday to make the technology even better. All right, with that, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.